So, let's get going. You want to introduce ourselves? Skip will let.
Skip Severance, I'm the planning board rep.
Donna Dana's budget committee rep.
John Decker, select board rep.
Charlotte Fife, public member.
Okay. And Sue is absent because of contract negotiations. Oh, here's Ellen. Here's Ellen.
I'm here.
Yeah, Sue said she couldn't make it.
Okay.
I don't know if we heard anything from Jean.
I have not heard anything from Jean, but I do believe you might have as well.
Yeah. All right. So we just did introductions. All right.
Thank you, I
take
appreciate that.
Take a look at minutes.
Nice to meet you all, Ellen.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
All right, let's look at minutes here.
Thanks. Skip, I'll share mine with you.
I'm good, thank you very much.
Budget committee's fun.
I had fun last night, I'm good.
Is everybody okay with the minutes, or?
Yeah.
1 second.
Oh, I got one, just I think a typo or edited on 32. Some figures are still awaiting final figures, although trustee Jen Phillips provided a
Provided, probably,
thorough
yeah.
estimate.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that one.
And thorough estimate is sort of, I don't know. An
All right,
estimate?
so,
I got one more too, John.
okay.
Line 64. the base station replacement originally estimated at 15,000 should be, I think, in 2022.
Yeah, not
Oh, yeah.
high on.
Ooh,
Oh, good catch.
Anything else? Anybody have?
I did not find anything
I
else.
didn't find anything.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as written with 2 changes, edits. 32, changing providing to provided, ED. And on line 64, changing ion to in, IN.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Abstain? Yeah.
Thank you very
Makes sense.
Okay.
All right. So, Ellen, did we have anything new changed or whatever? Or?
I don't have anything new change, new updated on that plan, other than what we discussed. I know there was gonna be some clarification from the library,
Mm-hmm.
and there are no other changes other than that.
Did we get that clarification? Was that?
I don't know. I believe, were you gonna go to the library?
Yeah, so I went and met with Jen, and Jen kind of walked me all around. I don't think that there was anything new in terms of clarification, although if you have questions, I can kind of try to address it. But for me, it was really about, you know, what are the issues that they're having? What's the better of the 2 options
Yep.
for putting in the ADA compliance, and looking at the paving the additional parking lot, and, you know, then how that becomes accessible. I think that there are other things that need to be looked at as well, that other issues that Jen raised, like there is that ramp, right, that comes out of
Oh, the handicapped
the handicap
on the right-hand
ramp.
side, yeah.
That ramp really should be entirely replaced, because it's got rotted wood,
Mm-hmm.
and the posts for it are put right in the ground. It's not like they're going into cement footers or anything like that. So, and there are a number of things that I think have been pointed out by Dale as not being up to code, and, you know, being issues that need to be addressed. So there are a number of things, but Jen, and in talking with her, it seems to make the most sense to, if they're going to put ADA compliant access on either side, it seems like it makes sense if you're looking at the building for it to come up that left side. And then you have that access to
That's where the other ramp is.
No,
well, no,
no, it's, yeah, it's a very the ramp is on the right side, but only takes you to the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
You need ADA access to the basement.
from the base.
Right, right. No,
From the
no, I know, but I
basement,
thought-
yeah.
There's
Okay.
still gonna be, you know, whichever way you whichever way you do it, there's gonna have to be some grading.
Right, I know
or
that's
significant-
really the big problem, is it's gonna
Yeah.
need a lot of grading either side.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it would be beneficial both for this committee and for the budget committee to kind of get a report or presentation from Dale
Mm-hmm.
to understand from his perspective what are all the code issues and which are the most serious. But then Jen also talked about the fact that, you know, they're, you know, completely open to phasing things, that in her mind, the paving is the priority.
Right.
So, but the thing you also have to look at when you're doing the paving is the runoff that comes from across the road. And is there anything that needs to be addressed in order to make sure that that's corrected and just doesn't cause additional problems
Mhm.
with the paving?
And I think that's gonna be
Yeah,
an
so, we also,
issue.
Ellen, can our highway department do paving or not?
No, usually for like the smaller paving, they'll sub it out to a smaller contractor than would do our roads. There's a couple of them, there's like Manchester Paving. I think R&D, who has our current contract right now, they have a smaller division.
Yeah,
But usually, yeah, we don't have the equipment to do it.
yeah, I was trying to remember who did Marston. Because I think if you look at those two parking areas, it's pretty close to the equivalent of Marston. I think.
I can look back through.
Yeah, that'd be great. But I mean, even in the existing lot, there's significant issues, you know, with torn up pavement, lots of places where somebody could fall, get hurt. The big square pavers that lead to the building aren't flush either, so somebody could trip on that. So again, I think that Jen needs to we need to get some paving estimates.
Mhm.
We need to hear from Dale what all of these issues are, and then prioritize them phasing, knowing that paving's probably phase one. Yeah, and do it that way. I mean, the other thing too, though, that I think that I suggested to her that's worth noting is if we can have that phased approach and get it on the CIP, but also, let's put everything on the CIP, but also let's identify what the fund source is gonna be. Because there is some work that may be covered by, gifts, right, to the library or grants and stuff like that. So, I think it would be worth,
If you don't mind, I had a couple of things just to add to that too.
Absolutely.
When Jen filled out her request for capital improvements for 2025, she did include some pictures. I have a copy of that, but I didn't bring it with me, so I don't know if anybody else does, but if you,
Yeah, I just saw Skip looking at it.
oh, there you go.
I actually
There-
took a lot more pictures
Yeah.
too.
Oh, good, wonderful.
So I have a lot.
But if that helps a little bit to orient you, because it is confusing, we're talking about as you're looking at the building left or right. And my understanding was that the parking lot and lighting were the priority, number one, because that is such a big safety issue. The big pavers in the front have been leveled, so that's good. The door is now ADA accessible. There's a downstairs door that was interior, which they've somehow adjusted, and I think that's met Dale's requirements. I think there's something else with the electric. But there are 2 exits in the basement, neither of which are ADA compliant. And how do you get somebody out of there if
Right,
there's
'cause
something?
You
And
can't put them up the elevator.
No,
No, and right
No.
now, your only option is
Burning
putting them
flame.
out behind the building.
yeah,
Which
and
doesn't
hoping
mean the
someone
building's on fire.
comes and gets them, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's really
One of the
a
exits
tough problem.
downstairs, the basement is on the side, right?
Yes,
The
that's
left-hand
right,
side,
that's right.
And then one is out the back.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm thinking this issue, the ADA issue, came up when they were doing all the work over there, and I thought there was a plan. I see the rocks here now, and that's not ADA.
No.
And so I'm
no,
wondering
it's
if the
for
other
building.
side is something different on the right-hand side?
The right-hand side doesn't have access to the basement.
Okay.
There's, out the back of the I'm calling it the basement, the children's room, the lower level, I
Oh, the
guess.
basement, yeah.
Is a nice way. There's a door that goes right out the back. That's a retaining wall that's not doing very well. That is on the left-hand side as you're facing
The left-hand
the building. And it's very steep, as you know. I've almost killed myself a couple of times. You know, it's wet, it's steep, and it's very narrow, and then it goes off into wetlands. So it's,
So it was never ADA?
it was never ADA. It wasn't even, like,
So-
it's mountain goat territory,
So the
really.
capability to get out was there,
Yeah,
but
but
not to
not
go any
to
further.
get to safety.
Back.
You can get out.
Yeah, you can get out.
Get out of the
Okay.
building.
Get to the back.
okay.
Right, right. So I think, I don't think that meets any kind of code.
That's probably part of the problem that Dale was mentioning.
Yeah.
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 And I'm not sure, I think they've addressed, you know, a bunch of the other things, but I believe parking and lighting was number one priority. The left-hand side that we're talking about that was so slippery was number 2, and the rear entrance was number 3. But now, it's actually, I believe Jen was standing talking to somebody on the handicap ramp and leaned on the banister in it.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
So that's how we
Yeah, and
discovered
they
that.
put that, I don't know, is it PVC pipe on
Yeah.
one side of it to kind of give it another handrail-ish thing? But that is just kind of like a Band-Aid
Temporary.
on one piece of the problem. I mean, there's a lot of the wood that's punky,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's just,
been there since.
it's lived its life, yeah, it's time.
exactly.
Oh.
So I mean, that was
So I think it's
really-
just real estimates, although it's, you know, it's in the minutes, she gave a thorough estimate. I think because things have changed, they can't do the parking configuration that they wanted to, which was to do kind of a horseshoe, so that was, you know.
That's not gonna work.
That
Right,
that
right,
won't
that
happen,
can't
so
work.
now they have to go back to the drawing board, so I
Right.
think it's a matter of getting estimates, but I think they know what they would like to do in terms of 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a good idea to talk to Dale too,
Yeah, I do.
get a list.
Did I also hear that they're looking at paving where the old police station used to be?
Yes.
Yep.
Does that provide better access ADA to the basement?
No.
No,
Only if they addressed that
Right.
left side, then they would be able to bring people out that side and over to that parking lot.
well, right, and maybe if, you know, it depends on how big, right, we talked about the property size there.
Yeah,
There would probably, you know, how big is that piece of property and what excavation could actually happen there to increase that size and potentially maybe make a
Walkway or?
walkway or something.
right.
I think when we looked at it on the map, the parking lot as it exists right now it literally consumes that little parcel that the old
Yeah,
police station parking.
yeah, because it wasn't very big.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. The lighting and stuff, do they kind of have a plan for that? I'd hate to see them pave it and then decide that we gotta dig it up to put in lighting.
Good point.
Well, right, that's,
And it kind of looks like those two lines are together, but I'm not sure that they're intended to be done at the same, well, it's all slated for 2025.
right, everything's slated for
Yeah.
2025.
There were a couple of, I thought they were our guys, but maybe it was a subcontractor were digging holes out in front. Or it almost looked like a line, and I wondered if that was for lighting. Do you hear about that?
When was it? Tuesday, Wednesday?
Let's see, what week is this? Yeah,
Yeah, because the monument company was coming to reinstall the memorial bench.
that was it.
Yeah,
Yep.
Thank you.
yeah, so that's out.
So I think if you look at this, sorry, I think if you look at this section, what Jen has to come back and say is, okay, is this the right priority, and then how do we space it out over the years? Right,
Well, they kind of look like all the same, kind of being done the same year, I think. I mean,
I don't think so, in
Really?
talking with her, she was kind of like, okay, let's get the paving done first. Like the main driveway, big issue, let's get that done, but if we're gonna do that, let's do the other one at the same time. So that's the priority, and then the second priority, although you would want it to be, you know, a more immediate thing, could be like the next phase. So doing that whole left side connection up.
okay.
So she seemed open with that approach.
But then that puts off the ADA compliant.
Right, and that's what concerns
does.
me
Yeah, a
too.
little bit.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
that's-
it's realistic, guys. Do you think everybody's gonna, you know, approve $100,000, $200,000 all at once for the library?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to put this stuff together at this point in time, and it seems like you can survive with the parking lot, at least the way it is, we're doing it. There could be some things you could do to make it a little bit better, but reconstruct the lower level side exit of the library and construct the ADA compliant slope pathway. seems to be something that,
That seems, from
high on
a
the list.
sa-
I mean,
right,
That's an
from a
excellent point.
safety, from
That's
a
an excellent
safety
point.
perspective,
Yeah,
that is a higher priority.
yeah.
I think
Seems
that's a
like it.
good point.
And I guess I'd also look at this and it says, lower level side exit. If there's a back exit, we should connect those two
It-
also, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I probably should have walked around behind there Monday night.
It was helpful.
Probably not, 'cause, well, I think their poison ivy's somewhat under control now, but I
They
did hear
did
that
do a
it
lot of
grew.
poison ivy
I
mitigation
don't have
this year.
shorts on, so it's,
Actually,
it's not shorts time of the year.
If you haven't been there recently, you will not believe the rear of the library. There's
Yeah.
hardscaping, a beautiful shed, beautiful garden. It's really,
Oh, they're not there anymore, right?
No,
Yeah,
they're
okay,
ju-
yeah.
they just redid stuff,
Oh, they did?
gardening,
Oh, okay, all right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'd put those last two on there, reconstruct lower level sides, or, sorry, lower level exits of the library is I think what I'd call that, and then construct the pathway.
Yeah, those, to me,
And I-
seem higher priority just because of the safety issues.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I agree with you. In terms of, maybe liability if somebody,
Well-
has a disability and all, but the walkway is very dangerous going out to the parking lot, and the parking lot has no lights, and it goes right out onto the state highway. It's dangerous
What's the latest that they're open?
after dark, 8 o'clock,
Okay.
yeah.
I wonder if it makes sense to get Jen in at our next meeting and like talk this through with her, because I think your point is well taken, Skip, that, she's thinking parking lot first, but
Because, yeah, most
Yeah.
people come in there, and certainly I understand that. It seems like, I shouldn't say that it cost a lot of money, but I think somehow or another we got some lights out here. We might have had an in on those or whatever, but it seems like a light over there.
Yeah, even if we had, one of the, I can't even think what they're called, like the high pressure sodium lights
Yeah.
that Eversource installs on one of the light poles
Yeah.
directing into the parking lot.
Yeah.
I think they run like
there is one.
$17 a month.
There is one.
There is one
In
at
the
the
main,
library.
yeah, but, yeah, it's funny, it was,
It's probably the
when I first moved here, it was out for the first 2 years I lived here.
And,
Yeah, it was dark over there.
But it doesn't, maybe it could be adjusted,
Yeah,
I don't know,
absolutely.
maybe it could
They can probably be
but
upgraded.
it doesn't illuminate, the entire area, and, not the lower.
and some of those don't do a very good job at it, but I mean, if it's not existing there now, you probably need the lighting, but.
Yeah, it's there now, and it's on, it just doesn't illuminate the whole
Yeah.
parking lot, I don't know if that could be adjusted or not. I think it's just, in my mind, and Jen may have this all worked out, I don't know how the heck they're gonna make that left-hand side compliant, ADA compliant. It's,
That's the,
Because of the
I
slope.
don't-
because the
yeah,
slope-
Yeah, oh, yeah,
and the foundation is,
yeah, I know.
it's really formidable to, unless they get some kind of
Well,
a
and maybe,
funicular or something.
maybe some of that work, the highway department could actually do some, at least rough work, addressing the slope and the grade. So that would help keep costs down.
I'm knowing Jen, she's so meticulous, I'm sure she's thinking about this and all, but I'm guessing she just hasn't been able to put it all together yet or get an estimate, and it's a big job, I think.
Yeah, she hasn't had a lot of luck getting estimates
No,
from
it
people.
is hard, yeah. And there's been so much change, with one thing after another.
Yeah, and
They've done a lot this
She
year.
understandably is looking at it from the perspective of what are people gonna be willing to accept from an expense perspective.
I'm,
Well, I think we should talk to her too, I think,
Yeah.
see what, get updated and
I
see
think realistically,
what's,
if somebody was to shut down the basement, they could do this, could do it right now, because they can't get out. I don't know. I mean, you can get out, but then you can't go any further,
Right.
so.
yeah.
And I know they run a lot of programs down there, so.
So would it be helpful to have Jen come, but what about with Dale? Do we want to talk to Dale, or do we,
Well, I mean, at least get a report from him
yeah, yeah, that would be
to say,
helpful.
Okay.
yeah, here's what the problems are,
Yeah.
you know, a list.
And I'm guessing Jen probably has that
Yeah.
list, you know, again, she's pretty meticulous.
I looked at the facilities report, you might be familiar with. And the ADA isn't mentioned here. And getting back up to the parking lot isn't mentioned here. So the other stuff is, so I thought that was a little, the lighting, outside lighting needs to be removed, improved, and that kind of stuff, so.
I think we were blinded by the elevator escapades at that point. You know, worried about that for ADA, and the front door was not ADA compliant, and, you know, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And just kind of missed the
Yeah.
whole, which apparently everybody has missed that for, I don't know, how long has the
Right.
library been there?
Yeah,
20
right.
years?
Yeah,
And, yeah, it's, you don't know until you really need it,
Right, right,
and a lot of times that's too late.
yeah.
yeah. But also, it seems like you need to figure out how to make that path, if you will, an ADA compliant path. Maybe you can't use pavement anyway, but if you can use pavement, that's the time to do it when you're paving everything else.
Right, no, you could potentially use pavement for ADA, you know, you can't have like steps or whatever.
Right, you can have
Right.
steps, so, you know,
Well, it's-
maybe it's maybe it has to be concrete or something. I just don't know the answer to
I
that.
don't think
I
so.
think it's a certain grade that it has to
Right,
be,
yeah,
and,
right,
But you have to have.
Looks
you
pretty
have to have a
formidable.
Easy.
yeah, that you could get a wheelchair, or
that's
it's gonna
slow.
be a long slope.
Honestly, I don't
Impossible.
even think it has to be paved,
Just,
because
You might be right.
they
yeah.
have trails and
Nature
stuff that are
trails, yeah.
ADA compliant that aren't paved.
You're right,
Right.
you're right.
But that's a lot of stone dust and.
Right, exactly, I mean, yeah, exactly, so,
yeah.
for maintenance
I think
purposes,
you have to look at it from an evacuation standpoint. You have to
Yeah.
be able to get them to a safe spot, and then from there, the hope is that you'll have assistance to be able to provide to get them to.
Right.
right,
And
but
that
if
makes
it's,
sense. So, was there a patio?
there is,
It's really
there's a
small.
patio area out there, but it's not that big, right?
Small.
And it's close.
It's close to the building, so it's not like you can,
You're
if the
leaning
building's
against
on
the
fire,
Yeah.
just, I mean, you
Here,
can
stand
get
10
out.
feet away.
Yeah.
And you can't even do that,
Here's your marshmallow stick.
Yeah.
and it drops off, too, you know, it's into that wetlands area, so it's really
So,
it's gonna be tricky, I
right,
think.
Yeah. Anyway,
so, it's,
It'll be a long and winding
they
path.
all
They'll have to find
seem
something
like
to
they're
shovel it.
connected pretty well.
right, there's definitely definitely relationships there to consider.
Yeah, we gotta understand the impacts. It's like the domino effect, right?
Yeah, yeah, and they've had a lot of domino effect over there
Or
this
the
year.
children's book, if you give a moose a muffin, remember that one?
Yes.
But I also found it interesting they didn't have any later types of things. Is that to come, or any other items coming down the road?
They've done an
I
awful
don't
lot.
think there's anything
No.
that they know of.
Okay.
The library's actually been more reactive, I think, than proactive.
Yeah, okay. Well, they get a big one taken care of this fall, so
Yeah.
that's good.
That's for sure.
Right, and that wasn't on
On
the,
here.
on the radar. What, you know, it happened when it happened,
Right.
so,
Can't
all right.
flush, you gotta pay, right?
And rec has a couple things short-term also. So,
So, sorry, Ellen, has anything changed on this sheet since we last looked at it?
No, the only thing that I did was I added the windows from the school and moved the kiln up to 25.
Right.
And then I think I added the 3 library projects in 2025, but that was it.
Okay, so where are you in your review with the department heads for each of the other areas?
So, really what we're waiting for right now is the culvert replacement, the cost to do those potentially in-house, but I'm waiting on the design from CMA Engineers. That was part of the warrant article that was approved in 2023 for 70,000.
Yeah.
It was 35,000 per culvert. So once we have the design back on that, then we'll be able to spec out the concrete culvert. So I'm waiting on that, and I know that's, you know, projected out for potentially starting next year. The 100,000 I think that was allocated for this year was to work on the wetlands permitting. But I don't even know if we want to get into that right now, because once we start the permitting process, we have to complete the project in 5 years, so that starts a clock that's ticking. So we're waiting on that. The fire station, not the fire station, the police station is what it is. I mean, it's just an estimated guess. I mean, we would need to determine a location, so I mean, it's really something that we can't go further with the estimating until we do a feasibility study and say, either A, it's going to stay here at its existing location, we're gonna improve it, or it's gonna relocate to place unknown.
Is the 3.2, the number we talked about last time, was that
Yes.
when there was 2 million before?
There was 2 million before, so
Yeah,
so I don't know when
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
reduced. I think that might have been done by the select board last year, maybe the year before that.
But it's a,
But now it's corrected.
I remember.
Yeah, okay.
But it's a little closer to what might be reality.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely don't think it's gonna be lower. I think,
Yeah, for sure.
I think the original estimate that Fawn had proposed is more realistic.
Right, so we gotta get through step 1 on that first before we can even
And we were
start.
unsuccessful in
Right,
24 trying to obtain that.
Did you want to create a building committee to start that process off?
Well, that's the hope, and then to be able to give them some money to work with to, because we're gonna need to get some type of an engineering firm in to spec it out in order to put it out for proposal.
Right.
Unless we do have a lot of qualified professionals in Nottingham, so as long as they're willing to step forward and be on that
Wouldn't
committee,
hurt.
we might avert disaster, but I think we do kinda have to plan for the worst.
Yeah.
all right, so nothing else has changed really, other than, and this is, so we may still get some new things depending on,
I don't anticipate any other new ones coming in. The only other one that's really to be discussed is the, outside of the library parking lot, is the request for the paving of north side and south side cemeteries. But that's going to be, you know, that's gonna be another specialized paving project. So if we're getting quotes, and I know Steve Rollins is working with Jen on just trying to pull together some more firm figures, so as they're looking at the parking lot over there, we can have them incorporate the quote for that, but I don't know if that in reality is a 2025 project. It's a want. You
so
know, they
just,
do have some washout and drainage issues that we've been dealing with over the past couple of years, but whether or not we can continue on the way it is.
so just looking at the totals, it makes the most sense to keep the library stuff all in 2025 instead of trying to spread it out, because we got
Yes.
some big things coming up. '26 and '27 are huge.
And the grader replacement got pushed out
Yep.
to 2026. Okay.
Right now, they're maintaining it. It got a lot of extra love this past spring, so we're hoping, I mean, it is beyond its useful life, but
Yeah.
it's still working,
That's
so.
working. Great, I do remember you saying that now, sorry.
Yeah, the graders get a lot of use.
It's getting more now that we're not subcontracting it. Because now all of the dirt roads are being done by our grader, where we've subcontracted
Well,
a lot
yeah,
of it out in the past.
we used to do it all in-house, and
Mhm.
then we were subbing it out, and
I think we were doing a combination once we acquired the lake roads.
Yeah. Contractors didn't want to do it.
I'm on the administration line items, the solar power system.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about?
That,
Does that mean we have it? Oh, is it on those sheets?
so we leased it, yes.
Oh, you lease it.
We leased it for 5 years.
So that's
Okay.
the way that the contract
Yeah, okay.
works.
And that's coming due.
Yes, so it was installed in 2018, provides for the town to lease space for the panels, purchase the power they generate for a set amount. The rate increases slightly each year, and the town may purchase the system outright at 2025, which would then mean that we own all the maintenance and everything else that happens. And then with the purchase of the system, all electricity generated would then be free because we'd be reaping the benefit of it. However,
Right.
most of the benefits already been reaped in the first 5 years.
right.
So,
So for $118,000, we can buy the system outright.
and if we don't,
Then we continue in a lease program.
continue on the lease? They don't come
That's-
take them?
That's the hope.
Have you done a cost analysis?
I have not.
Yeah, because that would be interesting to know if it's gonna,
And the fire department ones were installed a year later? So that's why they're not on the list, or were they different?
I'm not I'm gonna have to look into the fire department ones because I don't know if we leased those or if we must have. I can't
It
imagine.
had to be the same.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Cause
Pretty
it's-
sure it was the same
yeah, because
thing.
it's not on here to buy them.
Yeah, so that would be a good question, why?
Right, we'd have to add that in here because there would be costs associated
I think
with
those
that,
are the
too.
only ones we have, right? Those
Yes.
two?
yeah.
The school is looking at it, right?
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
they
And
have,
that's on here, I think.
yeah, it's on here,
Yeah.
solar panels to halfway through. Just placeholder, nothing set.
Right.
And they have it pushed out to 29 at this point.
We have a small blurb on the website, but it's the real-time power generated information that you can get. It doesn't talk about anything about us acquiring them. I will add it to my list.
118,000.
So, does the vendor help at all, Ellen, in terms of doing a cost benefit analysis for us, or?
I'm sure they must. I think that's probably already been done, but
I
whether or
mean,
not it
like
needs to be
go
updated.
forward.
Right.
Yeah. Just thinking if that's a way that could help you get that done.
And I guess I'd ask the question, are they maintaining them now, or are we?
Yes,
Okay,
Yep.
so if we buy them, then we maintain them.
correct, and then what that
Right.
responsibility is going to include.
Yeah.
What, and, right, and how
What
much,
scale,
and
How much?
So
I
what
know
is
they're
it?
here at least
Cost, and
quarterly.
because-
They're up on the roofs checking the panels and checking the,
So if we continue to lease, what kind of costs are those?
right, is there a maintenance plan or whatever, or something that, would cost an amount,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, is
it's
it,
kinda like buying the 3-year warranty on the new
Right.
computer that you bought that you're gonna throw away before the 3
Yep.
years comes up. It's like, what are you doing?
right, are these gonna generate enough power to provide us with $118,000 yet?
Yeah.
Or are they gonna just poop out after, cause they're not as effective?
Right, right.
So, I don't know much about solar. All right,
So, I got a question for this committee. What's our end target date here? Because I kind of feel like we're coming and we're not
moving anything.
forward at all.
Exactly.
And I think it's because there's a bunch of unknowns, but if we have a specific deadline, will we be more likely to get some answers to those unknowns quicker?
Well, and that's why I was kind of asking if this was everything that we know.
Yeah,
So we do know we should probably add that solar thing in here for the fire department for whatever year that it actually ends up to be.
but, yeah, but I mean, as far as that whole solar thing goes too, I really think we need a cost benefit analysis, so if we really know
Right,
what
is
we're
it
putting
really
in
of
here.
value? Yeah. And so I think since we supposedly have everything, we can actually start looking at whether these things make sense where they're at. If we try and spread things out a bit, what can we do? You know, I mean, it's like, police is pretty straightforward, other than the station, the police station.
Yeah,
You know, because they're new cruiser every year, the trust fund every year,
yeah.
and then, of course, they got the station planning build stuff, so that's a biggie.
That seems a little aggressive, actually, but yeah, that's fine.
Right,
Yeah.
yes, I agree, it's aggressive, but,
So I guess as far as timing's concerned, I was just looking at the budget committee calendar. The selectmen have to have the town budget, or the budget committee is expecting the town budget draft November 21st. So at that point, I know that's not going to be including all of the warrant articles, because there'll still be discussion there, but I think if you try to narrow it down to maybe like the 1st of December, to at least have a recommendation for them to consider as
Right.
Yeah.
we're forming the
Makes
warrant
sense.
Okay,
articles.
yeah.
December 1st, is that what you said?
Let's see, the draft is due to the committee November 21st, and then, well, that's what we're gonna be talking about, and then any updates to it are due December 12th. Our final is due January 2nd. So I think if you set a target for the beginning of December,
That makes sense. To Skip's point about the police station seeming to be an aggressive schedule, is it within the scope of this committee to say, look, we think it's too aggressive and it's not realistic, and we would recommend pushing the station out till 2028 or 2029?
I think so. I think that's part of our charter. Right, so first,
Maybe give me said.
yeah. I get it, the 40,000, you know, that's part one,
Yeah,
part one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then the,
250,000 is for the production of the appropriate plans and all that kind of stuff, is that kind of what that would be?
architecture and engineering fees is what it's outlined for.
right. And honestly, is it ever just a year that it takes? I mean, it usually takes more than that,
Well, and that's
because,
where we're at on the culvert design. That was approved
Yeah.
in '23. It was supposed to be finalized and turned in by June of this year, and they're still delayed, so.
so I would have no issue easily pushing out the 3.25 to at least 2028.
Yeah, at least.
So, so the total project cost is when it gets paid, right? Or do you have to,
No, it has to be done in phases.
well, yeah, but I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, before they start, do we have to have the money in place, or?
Yeah, is
We have to get the bond,
3.2 spread
basically.
out over years based on?
I
Yeah,
guess it
but I mean
depends
the
on how we fund it. If-
appropriations.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, according to this, it's a bond,
It would be a
so
bond.
we would have a special bond hearing and,
Right, and that would have to happen before the building would start
correct.
process.
Yep.
So maybe that is aggressive, but maybe you keep it in 27 so that at least the process for paying for it and the process for building it can start. I was thinking we pay it at the end.
No,
And
no, no. No, although-
We don't have to
yeah,
worry about it until the end of the project.
Yeah, but I'm more
Didn't make any
concerned,
sense when I was putting.
Here's your promise to pay.
I'm more concerned with the engineering piece,
Yep,
And how long?
Taking
you
more
know,
time.
and how long that actually takes,
yep.
thinking that that's probably gonna take 2 years. You know, just for reality. It may end up, it'll probably cost more than 250 over 2 years.
Right. So again, do you have to have that money in the,
I think,
To start.
I think you pay
In-
kinda along the way?
Yeah, like a
Right.
third. of-
Progress.
as you progress and use it.
And approve it.
So in 2026, we probably ought to raise the $250,000 for those fees.
Yep. And then we would probably need, it may not all get spent, but it would probably need more in 26, than 27. I mean, I can't, well, who knows, you know, stuff could always, it depends on how aggressive the town's gonna be. You know, and it's just a wag, no matter what.
Is there still any thought about applying for a block grant? And if
Yes.
so, would we go for
You
that?
can't count on that at this
Right.
point, though.
No, I know, yeah.
If you get, say we get approval from the town to move forward with a bond, right? Then, once you work through all of the details and papers and stuff for getting the bond, is there a period in which you have to start work or complete work? Are there any conditions that are associated with a bond?
I would think
Be-
so.
There must be.
Yeah, I mean,
So like if we
Yeah.
got approval on a bond, we would have to start within X period of time.
yes, because I mean, you're talking about a promissory note that's dependent on interest rates and all the variables that go along with that,
Yep.
so.
Because if we don't have engineering until 2027, then you have to go to the town with the bond, right? So that could be 2028 potentially.
But usually, so you, it wouldn't be a matter of us trying to fit that in the schedule with, the town deliberative session and town meeting.
It's a special hearing.
It's a special, it's a bond hearing,
Okay,
Right.
right.
yeah.
And in reality, Skip, to make your point, that 3.25 million would get spread out over the length of the bond.
Right, right.
So, I
Right.
mean, you would
Much more
request it and get it voted on.
But the reason for it being here is in case you want to do an impact fee associated with it.
Yeah, or
So-
whatever, yeah.
Right.
So
It's just
When-
more of,
when do you,
To do that shift.
Yeah.
yeah, and as far as the impact fees are concerned, this being in 2027,
short.
would start that earlier, quote unquote. But it has to be accurate. I mean, you gotta have the things in place to do it in order to start that.
Yep.
Is there talk about, at the planning board level, of starting an impact fee for the police department?
I haven't heard of any.
You haven't heard of it? I mean,
No, but there was a
But-
little
There has
discussion.
But there has been discussion about impact fees.
Readjusting them,
Right.
right.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff. And I was thinking there actually was one already for the police department.
No.
No, amazingly,
So
no.
it's
It's the
fire.
fire, the school, and the rec,
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
reserved for Marston.
And that's the stuff we kinda, it's hard, we probably should have changed it last year,
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah,
Hindsight.
yeah.
well, it's, you know,
Oh, well. We can do it, yeah.
Does
I
it,
don't know what it takes to change those. It's like,
oh,
just,
The
yeah,
planning board's supposed to review them every 5 years and update them as necessary, and at that point, they can propose, I actually think they can propose amendments to them with the appropriate number of public hearings.
so it's just public hearings to change
I
them?
believe so.
So then it doesn't sound like it's too terrible, maybe
I
we
don't
should do
think it's
that.
too difficult to do, but when you start a new one, you have to provide the numbers of the population and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they have to be calculated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know if the application matters, but it might, I don't know. They, you know, like, a police department might be handled somewhat differently than a rec department is. I don't know. I haven't been involved in that, but
Yeah, I don't know.
usually I think Stratford Regional Planning
Right. Right,
provides that information.
so if we assume that it would be a bond,
mhm,
right? And that the bond would be carryover, what, I don't know what, like
20 years or something.
20 years, right? So is it an accurate reflection to have the 3.2 in 2027? Or do we try to make our best guess at how that would be broken out over the years? Because it would be less scary.
right.
Well, that's
And
for
I think honestly, it probably makes a lot of sense, which is why I was kind of calling that out.
Yeah.
To say,
Yep, yep.
so.
I mean, and
But
it-
do we make, the problem is, without knowing bond rates and things like that, and do we make the assumption that we're gonna take a 20-year bond or a 15, you know? Or do we, you know, how long do we anticipate this police station lasting? You know?
This one.
Well,
No.
The new
no,
one,
the
the
new
last
one, right. So how long has this one been here?
Since it moved from over there.
Right, I know, but, I mean, we took a bond to redo that area.
Right. I would say it was 2010 kind of area, because I think that new station is in the master plan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that probably sounds about,
And that's the way that's kind of supposed to work.
right, so 2010.
We had no idea.
So that's kind of what I was getting at, so that's like 14 years.
Really? You think it was that recent?
Well, I'm saying it was identified in the
Renovated.
2010 master plan as existing.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
hang on.
oh,
Okay,
oh,
okay.
okay.
So, oh, that's
It could be
existing.
older.
Oh, yeah, no, it is.
Oh,
older.
okay, I was gonna say,
Because it
wow.
was,
Ridden
I'm
hard and
trying to
put away
remember,
wet.
I'm trying, so it was before Charlie, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, so it's older than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks older than
Yeah, I mean, we've been here since 1990
In
and,
this building, okay.
well, no, I mean, I've lived in town since
Oh.
1990 and I don't remember that
Not
station
being-
being there for very long after we moved here.
Oh, the old one?
Yeah,
So it was still the old one when you moved here?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
So 90, so it's 25 years,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Well, not quite, but at least 20. Or, well, no, 90? Oh, it's
2004.
30. 30 years.
2004.
It was done in 2004?
Yep.
20.
And it said, and should serve the town until at least 2020.
Okay,
Well, there you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, that's actually a very good little nugget to know.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's pretty cool when you
That-
keep these things up to date.
It's amazing.
And it's actually, what's cooler is it actually met that plan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it can work.
What do you mean?
Something
And
else that
it
exceeded its
lasted to
useful life.
220,
Oh,
and now
yeah.
we're looking for a new.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, so it,
well, it's,
That may have been,
Tweaked.
hey, Fawn, you know this thing says 2020 in there?
It could
Well, it's
be.
actually, it's gonna, I mean, it's gonna push it out to 27, 28 anyway, right? 28, 29.
It'll have
so
Right.
lived its good life.
It's lived a good life.
I still haven't gotten my tour over there yet.
Oh, no?
No, I just need to
Well,
squeeze it in.
Well, do something wrong.
You go right in through the Sally port.
Yeah, no, that's not a good thing.
But I think since most of this is just best guess anyway, wouldn't it make sense to make a best guess at how bond payments might be?
I couldn't
Yeah.
even get a couple of calculations and, you know, if it was over this many, if it was 15 years at,
Even if we take the worst
5%
case,
and-
even if
or
we take the
20
worst case
years.
scenario, or
Yeah.
maybe the
Right.
middle, 15
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
right?
Right, something, yeah, no, I think that kind of makes
that
sense.
sounds reasonable to me, rather
We
than
don't have
throwing
any
3 million
bonds
at-
on here now, right?
No, the next one would be next year for the school.
Okay.
So
do
that's
we-
another one that we have to consider for potentially,
Right,
Yeah.
Well, that's
So all the
the,
bonds are paid off at the moment.
yes, we have no long-term debt in 2025.
Do we know how they looked in previous CIPs?
it,
I mean, was it a yearly?
I don't have that far back, I
I
don't,
don't know.
I don't have that far back with me.
I have the worksheet right here, I can look back through. Maybe,
Maybe.
can't see.
I think we, at some point, I think they were like the big number, and then I think once it was approved, it just got broken out by,
Well, that's what
something like that.
I think it is. It stays as a big number until it actually happens, and then
yeah.
it goes out.
Because it's what, it's much easier to manage one number.
Yeah.
That's
It moves around. That's true. Yep, okay.
Let's see, so this document goes back to 2016, and I don't see anything high volume or magnitude that would associate to a bond. No bonds. No. So the original school addition that was proposed in 2023 for 5.5 million was plugged in as a figure in that 1 year.
Right,
Okay.
I remember that.
yeah, but if we were gonna take the fire station and break that out over years, then we would want to do the same thing with the school.
Right.
Right.
Right. Police station, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course. Of course, it just makes sense. I mean, in looking at how the money actually is spent,
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
yep.
Yep.
So how do we get at that?
So we could probably add a new row. So like, you got your planning, basically, keep those as they are, and then just have a row for the bond itself.
I mean, I can tell you right now, New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank issued an email the end of September for their January 2025 bond issues. I'll go with the highest being 25 years was 3.92%, 3.75 for 20 year, 3.46 for 15 year. I mean, we don't know what the interest rates are gonna do in 2 to 3 years, but
Right.
I mean, we could at least.
But if we
Right.
use like an average of 3.5?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I broke that out into
And amortize it over 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't, God, I hope we don't go with 25 years.
no. Yeah, I mean, I'd almost go shorter, just,
Yeah,
If we can, yeah.
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 I mean, if the life expectancy is really gonna be 50 years, then going 25 is okay, but, you know, if the life expectancy is only gonna be 20 years, we don't wanna do 25 years.
Right.
No, but is it realistic, I mean, would we realistically be doing something that we're only gonna get 20 years out of?
Who knows? You know, that's the whole problem, is like, how much growth is there gonna be? You know, or how, I mean, there's obviously, if we maintain things properly, they're gonna last longer.
Right, right.
So are we moving that out to 2028 at least?
I think that's probably more realistic.
Makes the total numbers look better.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
No, there's nothing to do with it, just.
Not the total.
Let's say get up to 1 million.
so start bond payments in 2028, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, how that all goes together, I'm not sure, but.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, I'm not a math genius, so I don't know how do you just say, okay, if it was 3.2, if we think that's the right number, and it's gonna be a 20-year, well, 15-year bond to be safe,
Yeah, so,
how do you figure that out?
Usually with the bond payments, what they'll do is they'll do the principal.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be a principal and interest loan like it would be typically amortized, where they collect all the interest up front. Usually they balance it. They,
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
I can probably get an estimate, because I just did a quick amortization. I mean, we were looking at like a
you have your computer.
$230,000 a year payment initially, and then it bumps down, you know, year 19, 20 to about 215,000.
and how many, that was 15 years?
No, that was on 20.
20 years?
20 years at 3.5% for 3.25.
And then what about 2.5 million for the school? And that we probably don't want to go 20 years because they're talking,
Temporary building.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
so.
They're talking
I would-
temporary building, they're
I
also
would say-
they're also looking to use impact fees to offset the cost as
Right,
well.
right, but how much impact fees do we have? Not,
Well, I mean, we keep returning them at this point because there haven't been
I
any
know.
expenditures, so.
but I would think maybe 10 years on that.
Yeah, so 10 years, you're still looking at about a $300,000 payment initially.
So I think that like, it makes more sense for us to do it that way because it's less, it's more
No, I agree.
realistic, right?
Right, oh, yeah, no, I agree.
And even if it's gonna fluctuate, you know, after a certain number of years, or even though we may switch and say, okay, we're gonna go 20 years or the interest rate has changed or whatever,
At
that can
least.
be reevaluated every year, you know? So
Right.
I think that's kind of like, let's put our best guess now.
Yep, no, that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense because it's, right, like you said, it's more realistic.
Yep.
So are you looking to fill in something like 230K
Just across the
in
board.
2028? Okay.
Starting in 2028, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And then the 300 for the school?
300, that's 10
Over
years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, and can you, Ellen, in the comments, make sure you flag just like what the guess is for
Yep.
interest and what the guess is for term?
Sure.
Yeah. Because people might look at that and say, wait a minute, the school is more, but it's less money. But the term is different.
right. Right, because, yeah, we can't expect that to last
No,
20 years. So that'll definitely even things out some.
What makes the impact look much less?
right, exactly.
Well, right, it's much less on a annual basis, but it's gonna have,
Still paying interest.
right. Right, I mean, that number didn't, the 3.25 and the 2.5 had no interest in them. you know?
Yeah.
They were just,
Right, right.
they were just the amount of the bond.
We hope.
Right. Yeah. But I think unfortunately, some people look at this and they go, oh man, taxes are gonna go royally up in 2027 because of that $3 million.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we really want this to be an accurate and better planning tool, it makes sense to split it
But
up.
I think keeping the bond on its own line
Yeah,
is important.
yeah. Agreed.
And there's no fire trucks, no fire equipment, being
There was
identified here?
There was potentially, when I go back to the original requests, there was a placeholder for a large piece of equipment in 2028, I believe.
28 has.
28 for the ambulance, right?
Yes, but I think there was also, I think that was
Oh,
the
something.
ambulance, but I think there was a piece of fire equipment.
Yeah, didn't that get pushed out?
It did.
Yeah.
To like 31
You're
or
on this
something,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Let's see, it's part of
But we just
the
spent a
Fire and
lot.
Rescue 2028. It was projected vehicle costs with radios. Nope, that was the ambulance, sorry.
We just spent a lot of repairs on the fire truck.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of
I think the next one that was earmarked for replacement is the tanker, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
it sounds familiar.
It just seemed like there should have been another vehicle on that list.
Let's see. I go to our asset list. It was a major piece to be discussed, earmarked for 2020.
Supposed to be 7 years, right? Or it's 6. Missing a year still?
Major
No, it was
piece.
supposed to go to 230, 2030. Or was it 7?
I thought it was
No, it's 6
7.
years.
It's only 6?
Yep.
A 6-year schedule of projects required to be constructed or to purchase needed capital facilities and or equipment consistent with the continued growth and development of the town.
So really, it's only that means it's only technically a 5 because 25
Plus the current,
is.
plus the current that we're getting ready to move into.
Yeah. Five-year plan.
I mean, it doesn't seem like this is that big of a list.
No, it just,
No.
it doesn't. It seems,
Weirdly small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and I think part of that goes hand in hand with, I mean, we do need to update our master plan. It's severely outdated, but we need to better gauge the temperature of the town and what they want to see in the future in order for
Right.
the departments to come forward and say, hey, you know,
Right.
like we project growth 50%, which means that we're going to need X amount of equipment and additional staff, and
Right.
that's what it would result in, so.
Yeah.
We all need to pull out our crystal balls.
Is there any movement on trying to update the master
Yes.
plan?
Little.
chapter.
Chapter by chapter.
One chapter.
Yes, one chapter, the housing opportunities.
Okay. Well, that's a
Oh,
start.
well, that's okay.
it's something. It's progress.
Yep,
That's,
take it.
yeah.
You're so humble.
It was interesting when we rewrote the entire master plan in 2010, because it was a very laborious-ish thing. And then after we got done with that, they said, you know, you can go chapter by chapter.
Thanks.
The problem.
Take heed
going-
in that advice.
Well, here's my issue with what's going on, is there's, you typically don't keep track of the revisions in the document itself. So there's a date on the front of it that says 2010, and some stuff will be later, earlier.
No, right.
And
boy.
so then you don't know which master plan you're dealing with when it comes time, so it's kinda,
Well,
And
tricky.
you could, something in this, chapter 11 could impact something that had already been
Yeah.
revised
Yeah.
in chapter 12.
right,
too, or
yeah,
whatever.
most of them are pretty, exclusionary of each other, which is good.
Okay.
But when you go to one chapter and you see the population, or the census information from 2020, and the previous chapter was 2010, well, where's the 2020 stuff?
Let's just look at the other chapter.
It's not as easy as just kind of dropping in the numbers, so you gotta justify the numbers in some fashion. It was interesting. I'd rather not do it again. But anyway, yeah, there is movement on it, yes.
The culverts are huge. Are the, do we end up bonding the culverts too, or?
Well, that's a question.
Boy.
If this was the estimate that was provided by Sean McLean when we were originally going to be contracting it out. And the question was, does it make sense to just do one bond, do it in phases for the construction aspect of it, but just do one bond because of the, I mean, if you add them all up, you're talking,
That's a lot of money.
But if we can keep some of that cost down by doing it in-house, then
right.
Would be nice.
And so is the 100,000 for the engineering and that kind of stuff?
The design portion has been started for the two culverts for Kelsey and Cooper Hill.
Yeah.
The wetlands permitting is another portion of that, and they estimated it was gonna be about 50,000 per,
Okay.
that's part of the 100,000?
yes.
Okay.
And then the 800 is one per year?
You wanna wait?
Oh, yeah, wrong meeting, kids. You're the audience still.
Early.
Bob was all upset. I'm sitting in the wrong place.
Is that one per year? kind of
One
thing?
per year?
Yeah, it says 800, 850,
Yeah.
and 850.
Yeah, because there's Kelsey, Cooper Hill, and then the twin culverts on Barry.
Right, okay.
So Barry is 2 culverts,
Correct,
but they're smaller.
yes.
I'm assuming they're smaller if they're,
Yeah.
if 2 cost the same as 1.
It's a sale.
Yeah, it's a 2 for 1 sale.
Bogo.
It's a one sale.
And those are all gonna be the cement square culverts, right?
What's that?
They're all gonna be the cement square
Yeah.
box culverts or
Yep.
whatever called. Okay. Paving. Yeah, I mean, it's like, doesn't. Doesn't seem like it's. It's a school. Yeah, I mean, I don't see what really moving anything around
No,
helps.
no.
I mean, other than that pond issue,
Right?
I don't,
I do think we should meet with Jen.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
On the
I agree, yeah. Yeah.
Right, I mean, it makes sense from a perspective of everything else, that if we could do all that this year, but I'm kind of concerned
Yeah.
that,
Given all the problems at the school again recently, are we gonna have any surprises from? Surprise.
I think if Sue was here, she'd probably be able to speak to that, but I think it's gonna be whatever the future of their heating system is. I mean, if they're replacing it. I was talking to Alan Tran earlier today, and he mentioned something about replacement of the system between 500 and 600,000, and I was like, I thought we were repairing. But I think they are looking at worst case scenarios, so who knows?
So that would have to go on here.
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, parents are
yeah, so,
upset.
but
Yeah.
I know know there's a lot that's transpired in the past week and a half.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yep.
So
and a little hot
we'll allow
potato.
the school to report on that.
Great, great. Are we, is the budget committee, or are we gonna hear from Alan Trant at all? It does.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
He's preparing something for the select board on Monday, and
Fantastic.
then when the departments present to the budget committee, you'll have something as well.
Fantastic, thank you.
So would that be the heating system, or?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
I was hoping that's what it was. And so the school does that still have bond? That's just finished, right? The school, the bond for the building the school,
Yeah, that's paid off.
that's paid off. Okay. So we're in that zone anyway,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
this point, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Free and clear until next year.
Yeah, like a car.
yeah, I mean, we paid off a bunch of things, just, we wrapped them up with,
Yeah, the USA
after we
Spring
sold
Sale.
USA Springs and,
right.
Right, right.
what was it, there was something that we had to wait on, was it like just the fire station or something, or? I think everything's paid off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, the
Yeah.
fire station
There
was
was-
paid off
There was
with,
something that we couldn't pay
Mulligan.
with, it was, oh, it was
Mulligan
Mulligan,
Forest, yeah.
or something, it just didn't make
but
sense.
that was the one that we just finished paying on
Yeah.
in 2024.
Yeah, it was, yeah, so, okay.
So the three takeaways that I'm seeing from this is, you know, we should meet with Jen, talk through more about, does it make sense to prioritize, does it make sense to try to do everything in 1 year? That would be helpful if we could have a report from Dale
Yep.
at the same time or slightly before that conversation.
Do you want to meet with Jen as a committee, or do you want to assign a representative to meet with her? Invite her to your next meeting? How would you like to approach that?
I say committee,
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes the most sense, is
yeah,
we're gonna have another meeting to,
Okay.
yeah. And then the school, I mean, we will need an update from them.
mhm,
And then just looking at the, the school, expansion and the, police station, just kind of updating that so that we're more accurately reflecting the expenses. of
We don't
cost.
have that horror.
Just documenting well
Yeah.
what the assumptions are. there.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, those were the three takeaways for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, the assumption, yeah, that we're making is that the engineering's gonna take longer than a year.
Yeah.
Are we missing recycling center stuff?
No, it's under Public Works. The
Okay.
only thing that's on there right now, originally it was adding a baler over there. We have one baler that has aged out. We can't get parts for it. It's still working. But there was talk about replacing that. It was originally on the plan for 12,000. I think we bumped it up to 16,000, and that was gonna be a smaller baler. What I had recommended just before you came on with us is to, rather than keep kicking the can down the road, is to start funding an existing capital reserve fund that we have
Oh,
for
okay.
recycling center equipment,
Okay.
putting the initial cost of the baler in there and then funding it over time in case something else happens, like with a compactor or what have
Right,
you.
right, okay.
But other than that, I mean, we have a brand new backhoe over there, so we don't have the telehandler. I mean, potentially we could have to replace the fork truck.
So we would want to add, oh,
It's on there.
it's on there,
First
the
item.
100,000. Is that,
Nope,
For
capital
which one?
reserve fund
It's
for the
the-
recycling
the
center.
top-
recycling, center, I see.
Right, first line.
20,000, and then we
Yeah.
just,
And then
I missed the first
2,500,
one, sorry.
yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Anything else?
Did
We need to
you
pick our next meeting.
I did.
So I guess it would make sense that we find out when Jen's available
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody else, and kind of squeeze it in.
I think the first couple of weeks were bad for everybody, and then the third week's Thanksgiving, so.
well, this year went by
How can
fast,
that be?
I
Well,
know.
it's not bad for Ron and I, but,
It could be bad for the turkeys that keep wandering my neighborhood.
Well, when is Thanksgiving?
Thursday,
Thursday.
whatever,
It's late
20
this year, the
something.
28th.
28th,
Yeah.
I think.
28.
Well, I mean, I'm back on the 13th, so that week of the 18th of November, if you're back, yeah,
Yeah, I'm back.
yeah.
So
I'm not going
if
anywhere.
you did it on the 18th, that would be before a select board meeting, so you'd be limited to the hour, unless you could come in sooner than 5:30.
I just meant any day that week.
Okay.
Oh.
The budget committee will be meeting on the 21st, so they'll be in here at 7. We could always set up in the conference room too, so if there was overflow. Like if we did carry into the next meeting, then you wouldn't have to worry about time constraints.
Oh, but we have
Yeah,
to
but
be at
we
the
have
next
to be
meeting.
at the meeting.
That's
Right.
right.
then
You're
they
gonna
gotta
lose
do
us
that.
either
You have to
way.
be in select.
Right,
board, so
right, so it doesn't really matter.
Goodbye, but Skip will be here.
Prioritize, ladies.
I mean, if it's mostly just Jen, how much, do we need more than an hour? I think
I
that's.
don't think so, I feel like we've,
I don't think so either.
So you
I
want
mean,
to
we're-
shoot for the 18th?
Sure,
Okay, so I will check Jen's availability on
Sure.
that, and then I'll send you an email to confirm.
and if not, then the Thursday is probably fine,
Okay.
Monday, or Thursday, or, I'll figure it out.
And something
18th.
from building inspector would be good.
Yes,
oh,
yep.
yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
For the
report from
88,
him.
I sent him an
stuff.
email looking for a
Okay.
memo or something that can just kind of bring us up to speed on what
Yeah.
the needs are for ADA compliance.
What
Excellent,
type of stuff is required, I guess?
yeah.
Right,
Seems like you'd probably Google it and find it, but I'm thinking more BOCA would,
It's-
If there's anything beyond ADA as well,
Mhm.
I don't know what that would be, but just,
I feel like there were a couple, but like minor things, you know,
Yeah.
not huge.
yeah.
But I can't tell you what they are.
But, and if there's any way we can get that before we meet with Jen, that would
Okay.
be
right,
great.
All
right, because, yeah, if there's other non-compliance things, whether it's ADA or whatever,
Right,
we
exactly.
still need to know, because if it's gonna cost money,
Right.
unless they're like so minuscule that it's part of the regular budget, that,
Yeah,
I sent him an email, so we'll see it first thing Monday morning.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Cool.
and honestly, if we have stuff like that for any of the other buildings, we need to know too.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I know that we're working on stuff internally in here, just, things that have been identified by the Joint Law Safety Committee. So, I mean, we're slowly plugging it away at little things, but, that's obviously a much larger,
Right, all right, I mean,
what might
it's,
have been
it's kind of,
grandfathered at one point, but
Right.
doesn't
But
quite
isn't
work
anymore.
anymore.
I mean, it's obvious, if you can't get out, I mean, on the down, from the downstairs,
Yeah.
you have no place to go, that's definitely a problem,
Yeah. Yeah,
so.
or even if upstairs and you're trying to get out on the ramp, that's like not anchored properly in.
The front door.
Well, at least the front door is,
is-
yeah, is
Sure.
now ADA compliant.
Sure.
So, that bothers me less,
Yeah. Then
because
maybe being
there is a,
caught downstairs.
but we should get that fixed, that's not,
Then we'll have to find
That can't
somebody
be
to
that
shovel
much.
those walkways. That would be a whole other problem.
Oh, Charlotte.
all right.
Gonna be a party poop and everything.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right,
Aye, aye.
we're adjourned.